have you got confidence that the bus will arrive in 5 minutes? Yes, I have confidence it will arrive, but I'm not sure it will arrive. There's uncertainty there. And this is the attitude that we should have towards something like rebirth. We should have an attitude of confidence, but not firm and absolute faith and belief, simply because we don't know. We cannot be 100% sure, at least not at this stage. So this is the first thing to remember. The attitude towards rebirth should be something like confidence about it. Now the second thing I want to talk about, which I think is very important, and that is the scientific outlook on rebirth. I always feel uncomfortable if somebody calls me an anti-scientific Buddhist, who does not want to take into account scientific facts, who is maybe a kind of Luddite, who doesn't really is not really up to scratch on what's happening in the modern world. I always find that unfortunate, and I think it's important. For me, one of the reasons that I've always felt very confident about Buddhism is precisely because I always felt that there wasn't so much conflict between science and Buddhism as there was maybe between science and certain other faiths. That was why I felt I felt this was the right thing for me. I felt that I didn't have to compromise any of my other principles so much. And for that reason, it is of course important to take into account what science says about this thing called rebirth. And very often when we read scientific journals, when we see what scientists say, very often they dismiss this idea of rebirth out of hand pretty much. And at this stage we have to be careful, and we have to look at why is it that these scientists dismiss this thing called rebirth. And I have always found that when I have read journals and articles about the mind, about consciousness, usually the best people in the field of mind studies, of consciousness studies, they admit that they have no idea what these things actually are. They admit that the understanding and the knowledge of this particular field is still in its infancy. People don't really understand consciousness. It's a very profound thing and very, very hard to get a grasp on.